bear with me one second.
Yeah, we are ready to start. And I suppose we go live.
Yeah, just let me check one thing. Oh, sorry.
We are live. So, greetings to all. We're happy to see you. My name is Anastasia Fedorova, and I'm the manager of international sales at Educate Online. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great interview today with Heather, one of partnership account manager at Virtual Internships. And during this conversation, we'll look at the exciting opportunities and experiences that virtual internships provide to students. So, hi, Heather.
Hi, Anastasia. Thank you for having me.
It's nice to meet you. We appreciate you being here with us today. So, how are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. It's a bit cool and breezy here in the UK.
Sounds great. So, could you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Heather. I've been working for virtual internships for about a year and a half. And previously worked with UK universities, with partnerships, and with students wishing to come to the UK to do their degree. But yeah, really excited about talking to you today about virtual internships and how we boost graduate employability.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I'm so looking forward to information about virtual internships. I think it will be impressive and inspiring for our students. So, and before we start, I would like to share the agenda for today's meeting with our viewers. So, dear viewers, Heather will tell us today how virtual internships can be advantageous for a university portfolio. Also, how virtual internships can bridge the gap between education and the workplace. Next, we will discuss the application process and entry requirements for our students, and Heather share with us information about the industries that students can explore through virtual internships. So I'm looking forward for a fruitful and enjoyable interview. uh, can I start asking my questions now, Heather?
Please do.
So yeah, and so my first question, can you tell us more about your company and how do virtual internships differ from traditional internships in terms of opportunities and experiences offered to students?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what virtual internships is aiming to do is help young people, graduates, and people who are looking for career changes to get the experience that they need to get into the career field that they want to work in. So, quite often young people will start applying for jobs, and the barrier they hit is that they don't have any formal work experience. That's normally the first thing that any job spec asks for. So we're seeking to bridge that gap by putting interns into placements with host companies, doing real work to gain the experience that they need to get that step up, either to get another internship or to secure their first job. So the first thing I would say that differentiates virtual internships from a traditional internship is that our placements are guaranteed. So even traditional internships will tend to be competitive with people applying and explaining what their experience is and promoting themselves as the best candidate. But in this case, we guarantee a placement to all of our applicants in their chosen career field. There is no requirement for former professional experience. So again, through your application and through our matching process, we have many host companies who are open to supporting the journey with individuals who don't have formal work experience. They will look at things like academic background and skills gained through the projects that students have done at school or at university, and through their personal and social lives. So it might be the clubs that they've participated in or volunteering. So we draw on other activities other than professional work experience. We're also a very flexible option. So our interns can work from anywhere as long as they have a laptop and an internet connection. And we also have flexible duration, so as in the number of weeks that a student interns for, and the number of hours per week. So it's very flexible and fits around other commitments like study or personal life. We also are obviously promoting the valuable remote working skills. So we know that post-pandemic, many companies are still investing very heavily in like hybrid work or entirely remote work. Big organizations like Slack and Facebook are looking at how to restructure their workforce. So with that, we know that people need to be better and acquire the skills to work remotely, but also really importantly, how they're going to showcase those skills in an interview situation. So being able to talk about why you are a reliable remote worker. And it's also a structured work experience program. So whereas with a traditional internship, they would expect you to come in and get on with the work because they've selected you based on the skills that you already have. And really, it's just that step between school and work. With a virtual internship, we have a lot of wraparound support to really help you sort of flourish during that period. So we will have weekly check-ins with our interns to see how they're getting on. And if they're not doing so well, we have a team of intern experience managers who will support them with resources. They can arrange calls, talk through any issues they're having to help them overcome the hurdles, particularly at the start of a new internship. And we have career coaches who meet with the interns twice during their program, at the midpoint and the end point. So, they're reflecting on their experience so far. Are they getting everything out of it that they want to? How can they steer their internship in a direction that's really important to them? How this all fits into their wider career aspirations, like where do they really want to be in 3-5 years, and how are they sort of going to talk about their internship experience to harness more opportunities down the line. There's also a curriculum, Career Bridge, which sort of shadows the intern journey and helps them look at sort of really important soft skills and how to develop those. And again, how you're going to talk about them when you later come to apply for jobs and interview for jobs. So all of that is designed sort of as a safety net and to make sure that interns are really getting the most out of the experience.
Oh, this sounds really awesome. There are so many benefits for students. I knew that many of our students have already interested in virtual internships. So could you share with us how does the application process for virtual internships work?
I can. So we have a very simple application and a bespoke application for Educate Online. The application itself probably takes about 10 minutes to complete. We obviously ask for just personal details, name and email address, but also where the intern is from, their nationality, but where they will be located during their internship, so that we're starting to think about time zones because we work with host companies all over the world. Then we ask what program choices the student has, so we're designing a program that suits their needs. So that will be what career field they want to work in, the duration of the internship, how much time they're able to commit, how many hours per week. And we also give interns the opportunity to highlight the host company location preferences, so where they would like their host company to be located. We don't guarantee host company location because our priority is to match on career field. But if we can also accommodate location, we'll do that too. Obviously, it's remote, so like the location doesn't matter um, in terms of the internship itself. But sometimes, you can use this opportunity if you know that you want to work in a particular country in the future. Um, and this is a good opportunity to start learning about the work culture there, and developing a network. So that's why we include that. Um, we also ask interns to upload a CV, and I put a link in the slide there, which includes some of our advice on what a good solid CV or resume would look like. And we ask interns to record 3 videos. So these are about a minute each, where the intern will tell us why they're interested in their chosen career field, why they are a good candidate and a host company should recruit them, and what challenges they foresee undertaking a virtual internship. And the CV or resume and the videos we use both to match the student to a good host company, to one that meets their needs, but also to attract host companies to a particular student. We feel that the video really personalizes the process and brings, a bit of personality. So that will help us make a match and attract particular host companies to that student. The only requirements we have, well, the only requirement we have is that our students must be 18 years or above. So that's from a safeguarding point of view, because obviously our students or interns are working directly with host companies. So that's why the age limit. And we don't ask for proof of English, but as a guide, B2 is what we're looking for to ensure that it's a useful experience for every intern, because all of our host companies, the supervisors, will be English speakers, and the program is designed to be entirely delivered in English.
Oh, thank you for such detailed information. I suppose you spoke very clearly about the process of applying to the program, and now our students will not have any difficulties with their application. And also, thank you very much for sharing information about requirements for our students. I suppose now our students clearly understand what is required of them. So, and could you tell us how virtual internship provide flexibility for students in terms of location and schedule? You previously mentioned that you provide flexibility for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So our flexibility really is in the fact that students select their program duration and their hours. We do require that any internship should be 120 hours overall. So that's what we believe is the amount of time that enables them to get a sufficient amount of experience for it to be of interest to a future employer. So that 120 hours can be worked across whatever number of weeks the student chooses out of the options we give, and the relevant hours per week. And I will go into a bit more detail on that shortly. We have flexible start dates, so students can select. Our internships always start on a Monday, and when the student comes to apply, they will see that you have to choose a start date 6 weeks in the future, minimum of 6 weeks in the future. That's to allow us sufficient time to place them. Beyond that, they can choose the start date that suits them. And in terms of their schedule, we don't stipulate what the contact hours should be. Obviously, we have thousands of interns working with thousands of host companies across different time zones. So we leave that to the host company supervisor and their intern to negotiate between them. So the host company will know, say a student is doing a 12-week internship, 10 hours per week. They know that there's going to be flexibility in when those 10 hours are conducted. So an internship is going to be a combination of synchronous tasks, where they're required to be online in contact with their host company or their supervisor, and asynchronous tasks where the intern is just getting on with the project and the work. So when ahead of your internship starting, you meet with your supervisor. There might be specific things like meetings that they really want you to attend on a weekly basis. You'll work out when that is, and that will be held in your schedule. But outside of that, any other tasks you're working on, as long as you're working to the deadlines that your host company is setting, it's really up to the intern when they want to fit that in. So if we have interns who are studying and they obviously have a schedule with their college or their university, there's going to be times that they're just not available. They might have a part-time job, they might have other family commitments. So we really put the onus on the student to choose what works for them in negotiation with their supervisor. Again, unlike a traditional internship where they would typically, be in the office at set hours. And we also work with over 13,000 host companies in 100 different countries. So there's obviously a great deal of flex there in terms of where an intern would be placed, where their host company would be based. So it opens up so many more opportunities compared to what's available in your local town or local city or in your country. It just really expands the borders. It means that a student in India who has aspirations, say, to go to university in the UK and possibly to work there afterwards, it means that they get the opportunity to potentially to do an internship with a UK-based host company, starting to develop an understanding of work culture there, developing a network, might be beneficial to their university application or down the line to future job applications. So, it's inexpensive because you're not commuting, you waste less time in travel, but it opens up many more opportunities to the intern.
It's amazing. I find it very exciting that students from different parts of the world with different workload can start studying with the virtual internships. So it's amazing. And let's move on. One of the most exciting theme for our students. What industries or fields of study are available for students to intern in through virtual internships?
Absolutely. So virtual internships has broken the jobs market down into these 18 career fields that you can see. So we don't guarantee niche career paths, particularly with individuals who are early on in their employability journey. If they haven't yet developed sort of high level skills in a particular industry, then we're concentrating much more on the sector, the industry that relates to what they want to do. And that's still really beneficial because they're starting to get industry exposure within that field, which is going to look great on university applications or future internship or job applications. Currently, our most popular fields are in computer science and IT and engineering, which is no great surprise, given the direction that commerce is going in. But yeah, we have host companies in all of these areas. And I just wanted to draw on an example of a student in the Middle East who interned with us. And she had done sort of all of her accountancy qualifications and finding it very competitive in her area to get any advancement, getting employed in accountancy firms in the region. But she did an internship, I think, with a Canadian company, and quite unrelated. It was in the field. I think they hired out large like construction machinery. But she did like a 4-week, 30-hour per week internship with them. And about I think it was about 2 months after she'd completed, she secured an internship with one of the big four accountancy firms. So you can really see how quickly, even doing an internship in the right career field, albeit in a very different industry, in another country, just doing that for 4 weeks meant that she had something more on her CV that was attractive to the type of firm that she really wants to work with in the future. So it really does open doors, even if you're just doing your internship in the career field as opposed to the niche career path that you want. It's a really valuable opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you for sharing information about these student cases with us. And I suppose
Mhm.
there are so many fields of studying. I think every student will be able to choose something suitable for them.
Yeah.
And how long do the virtual internships typically last, and what is the expected time commitment for students?
Yes. So I was sort of have directed us in this direction a few times, but this is really the core information that you need to know about how to select your duration and hours per week. So as I said, 120 hours is the minimum requirement. So we ask students to choose between 4, 8, 12, and 16-week internship with a commitment of 10, 20, or 30 hours per week, provided that gets you to 120 hours. So obviously you can exceed the 120 hours and the price is the same, irrespective of the duration. So our most popular option tends, because a lot of our interns use the summer period to between terms to do their internship. So we typically, our most popular option is 12 weeks with a commitment of 20 or 30 hours per week. But we do have many students who opt for the 4 weeks, 10 hours per week. Sorry, not sorry. It's 12 weeks, 10 hours per week if they're running it a long time alongside their studies through term time, and they feel 10 hours is quite manageable. But those are all the options that are available as long as you hit the 120 hours.
Yeah, that's great. And could you please tell us what are the key skills and competences that students can develop during a virtual internship?
Absolutely. So virtual internships has taken stock of what the National Association of Colleges and Employers has to say. So they are a US organization who speak to companies about what skills and competencies they're really looking for when they look to hire graduates. So they've termed these the career readiness skills. These are the most important traits that companies are looking for in new hires. Um, and we have made sure that these are embedded throughout our internship program. And we get the intern and their supervisor at the start of their internship and at the end of their internship to rate the intern on in these areas. So, what's important to them is career management. So the sense that the individual knows where they want to be and they're driven and they know how to get there. So they're going to progress up through the company. They want to see evidence of critical thinking, and sort of to be a good problem solver, a lateral thinker. Obviously, good communication, and particularly global fluency, as companies are obviously more globalized and will be working across borders. They want to see signs of leadership skills, and obviously professionalism in the way a graduate conducts themselves and communicates. They want to see evidence of good teamwork ability, and obviously they're broadly looking um, for a good comprehension of technology. So, as I said, we will ask the intern and the supervisor to rate the intern at the start and end. So at the end of the internship, we would hope to see, and typically do see, that the scores have much improved over the course of the internship, but also the intern is then going to go away with tangible examples of how they've demonstrated these core skills. Because when they go to, when they're filling out a job application or they're attending an interview, they can expect questions that sort of drill down into these skills. Tell me a time that you took it upon yourself to lead a situation, or where you've demonstrated that you can influence people who you don't have sort of direct line management control over. And by getting the interns to think about this throughout their internship, and through the coaching calls, getting them to discuss how they're meeting these criteria, they're building up sort of a bank of examples that they can draw on, that don't entirely rely on them referring to their educational experience. They can actually now offer an example that's related to a real world working experience.
Yeah, it's incredible, I suppose. So we can see that virtual internships encourage skill development that universities value. And thank you very much for sharing information about skills so that students can develop. And what about the difficulties students might face? What are the challenges of virtual internships?
Sure. So I mentioned earlier that every week we get our interns to complete what we call the weekly feedback loop. So they let us know how their week has gone, and they rate it out of 10. They let us know what they've been working on, what skills they're building, but also what's been their main challenge. So I've looked at the data, and sort of these are the themes that come up, and they come up much more at the start of an internship. Obviously, it takes, as it would, when you start a new job, it takes a while to embed and get more confident and sort of just understand how things work. So over time, we do see that the challenges get less and less as they get further through their internship. But just to give you an insight into sort of those that come up more often, at the start, it'll be things like time management. So especially where interns are studying alongside their internship, they might have assignments, they've got, classes to attend, but now they've also got these deadlines for their internship. So sometimes just getting used to juggling those additional responsibilities can take a little getting used to. But again, our intern experience team are on hand to provide resources and support with things like that. Within that, there's also adjusting to time zones. I work remotely. I understand fully the frustration of, you need something from somebody who is 8 hours ahead, and it's drawing to the end of my day. So they're, definitely asleep. And it just takes a little bit more consideration with how you structure your work. You're conscious of what you need from someone and what time zone they're in. So you start to think more about when you need to reach out to them to get that. And again, it just can take a little while for interns to get used to working across time zones. But another great example that they can then demonstrate when it comes to, interviewing with a company that has, offices all over the world. Also, unclear schedule comes up. So I think at the start of an internship, the supervisor is getting to know their intern. They will have a clear placement project plan, sort of 5 key projects that intern will be working on over the course of their internship. But when it actually gets into the week by week and, what's expected of me, when am I supposed to do things, it can take a little time for the intern to adjust to the flexibility of it. But, we would always say, your supervisor is just, it's giving you opportunity to, to understand the company, to understand how it works. They're getting a better idea of you and your skills on what you're capable of. And they might want to, they want to understand those skills before they know what work to give you. So again, it can just be, I suppose, a little unnerving for interns in their first week, first 2 weeks, but normally by week 3, they're much clearer about what's expected of them and what they need to do. Communication issues come up from time to time, again, with time zone differences, with busy host companies. Sometimes interns will just struggle, with maybe waiting 24 hours to hear back from their supervisor. The intern experience in cases like this, the intern experience managers and the team that look after the host companies will step in and seek to resolve that. Then there is sort of in terms of the actual work, sometimes students say it's too challenging. Again, that's generally at the start of the internship. These are supported internships, so the host companies are offering training and they are guiding their interns on what to do. So it can just take a little while before the student feels confident in what they're doing. Sometimes they feel it's not challenging enough. Again, that's something they can discuss with their intern experience manager about how they can approach their host company, to ask for more challenging work that makes better use of their skills. Sometimes it's to do with volume, too much work and they can't get it done within their set hours, or not enough and they, again, feel under-challenged. And in some cases, we find sort of after a few weeks, an intern feels that the projects don't actually meet their career goals. So it might be that they themselves have realised, actually, I think I've chosen the wrong option and this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Or just the reality of working with the host company, they don't feel that they're hitting their targets. So the solution here is always to speak to your intern experience manager. They will step in, they will help you, they will help you with the relationship with your host company, provide you with the resources that you might need. But ultimately, if any of these things are problems that aren't resolved after intervention, we offer students the opportunity to request a host company change. So particularly, if the relationship with the supervisor hasn't proven to be a good one, or if there are consistent communication issues, these are the type of instances where we would offer the student the opportunity to change their host company. We go back to the matching and interview process and we get them into a new internship. But we do find that most of these challenges can be resolved with the support of the intern experience managers.
This is great and nice to hear that you have solutions for all difficulties and challenges that students may have. And you have already shared with us information about the path of one of your students from Middle East region. And my last question will be related to this theme. And could you please share with us some interesting cases of your students?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to first give you the context of sort of our employability outcomes. Obviously, we monitor these extremely closely because we want to evidence the benefit that a virtual internship offers. So the first one to note is that 28% of our learners who complete their internship are invited to continue working with the matched host company. So that means that 1 in 4 interns is either offered to extend their internship or they're offered part-time or full-time paid work with their host company. And obviously a lot of our students haven't yet finished they haven't graduated yet. So don't want to just leave education and obviously take on the job. That's not the point. But it's great to see that so many of them make such a good impression that their host company wants to retain them. 88% of our alumni agree that completing a virtual internship increased their ability to work remotely. This is amazing to us because, as we've said, we know that the future of employment is going to put a lot of emphasis on remote working or hybrid working. So being confident in your ability to work remotely is really important because chances are you're going to have to at some capacity, but also you need to be able to demonstrate to employers that that's a skill that you have. And 81% of our alumni agree that completing a virtual internship made them more confident in obtaining future full-time work. Again, really important. We want our interns going into interviews full of confidence and able to convince their interviewer that they're the right candidate for the job. So that's our broader context, but I did have a few examples that I wanted to share. So we have Kimberly, who I believe is in the US. She undertook an internship in the field of IT research and project development. And about her experience, she said, this internship was an opportunity for me to learn more about the NFT and blockchain space. It's very topical. Throughout the 12 weeks, I was able to apply what I've learned in the classroom to real life projects. And this is definitely the highlight of the internship. It was definitely a good learning experience for me. So she's beautifully demonstrating how, it's offered her the opportunity to draw on what she's learned in school. So she's got the theory and the knowledge, the technical, and now she's got, the real world experience to back it up. Kimberly was offered part-time paid work by her host company, but as she was still in the middle of her degree, she declined. But she'll have a great reference from that host company that she can call on, and who knows, in the future when she graduates, she might reach out to them and see if the offer still stands. And then we have Mark, who was in the UK when she completed her internship. She undertook an internship in legal content creation. And she said, without this internship experience, it would have been very difficult to land my first paralegal role just 6 months after completing this internship. So an example of something I mentioned earlier, that it really is opening doors. You complete an internship, it really bolsters your CV and presents you with more opportunities, within a short period of time to secure the type of job that you're looking for. So much like Sadia, who I was talking about earlier, completing the internship has just given her a step up to where she wants to be. And we have Nathan, who was also in the US, who undertook corporate governance, continued professional development, clinical internship. So he was working for a health and pharmaceutical company in their development of educational resources. And he said, the coaching calls showed me how to set short and long-term goals whilst working to ensure continuous skill development and career advancement. This was a huge highlight for me, alongside being offered a position at Ashcroft at the end of my internship. So Nathan was offered also a full-time paid position, which he accepted. So obviously that's fantastic. And he talks about the sort of the benefit of the coaching calls and how that's helped him sort of really think about his aspirations. So just sort of three different examples that show you what opportunities there are to make a really strong impression with your host company, and what that means in terms of, well, getting work directly with them, or just being offered, the privilege of being offered the work, and what that means in terms of what a good job you've done, or the opportunities it opens the doors to with other recruiters down the line.
Yeah, I simply have no words for what an interesting and exciting path students take with virtual internships, and how much benefits this program brings to them. I think our listeners are no less delighted with these students' cases than I am. And so that concludes my questions for you. Dear Heather, it was a pleasure to meet you and learn more about virtual internships. We are glad to have such a wonderful partnership with virtual internships and are delighted with your product. Thank you for sharing such valuable information with our viewers. I'm absolutely convinced that it will help a lot of students to be enrolled at their ideal internship, and it can help students complete their educational goals.
Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you and your students. It's been lovely spending the last 40 minutes with you.
Yeah, thank you, Hazel. And dear viewers, I would like to remind you that you can also see our contacts on the screen. We will be happy to help you with the enrollment process of your students at virtual internship program. So we will wait for your messages. Thank you all for listening. It was a pleasure being here today. So I hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.